How did you grow up?
And when you say how did I grow up, like, I guess I could say I grew up good. I stayed out in the country. I lived in Morales, Texas. Um, Went to school in Edna, Texas. Um, Morales is probably about 15 miles outside of town. We pretty much stayed on a farm, but we had all different kind of animals. We had horses, cows, pigs, chickens, turkeys. My grandmother, actually my great grandmother, she pretty much ran this farm with my uncles. They took care of these animals, and then the animals turned over money to, continue the farm. We had fresh eggs and good meat. Pretty much discipline. Where I was coming from, to be able to get out there on time and do what you got to do, and just do your chores and do your part to keep the farm running.
What's your earliest childhood memory?
Childhood memory? The earliest thing I remember is trying to get started at school. I think I had a birthday that was kind of, I guess, toward the end of the year, and I got all ready for school and, had my little school clothes ready, my pencils, my paper and everything, and it wasn't time for me to go to school yet, so I was kind of, real sad about that. And that's probably I think maybe I was about 4, 5, I don't remember. It was very young age, but I do remember what happened, and I had to wait a few more months before I could start school. So, yeah.
All right. What's your loneliest moment, and how did you overcome it?
Man, loneliest moment. I would say being stuck in a big city in Houston and not having anywhere to go. To a certain extent, I had burned a lot of bridges with family, and there was family that was still actively helping me, but not a place just to lay up and take it easy. I didn't have a job. I didn't have an ID card. I was just out there. Luckily for me, I didn't just get too hard into drugs. My thing was I would try to drink everything away. I'm gonna try to get me something to drink. But just being out there overnight in a huge city, you never know what can happen to you, and not having anywhere to go. Sometimes I feel like that was a choice that I made. It truly is a choice that I made to go against what I had going. But I think the situation that I was in, it was doomed from the very beginning. And just the lowest point is not having anywhere to turn to, heartbroken, so to speak. So the way I overcame it, what I did, I came back home. A lot of people talk mess about their hometown, this and that, messy people, and people from the country, they messy and always fighting. And just look, hey, I love my hometown. And I think that that's good medicine for anybody, to be humble, to go back home, to regroup, to start over. Because let me tell you, it's messy people, it's fucked up people everywhere. Excuse my language, I don't mean to, it's just the truth. It don't matter what town are you in. You could be in a city or a small town. It only probably seems bad because you know them small town folks. Whereas in the city, you don't know, but it's the same people everywhere. You either messed up or you ain't. But my remedy for that was to go back home. I went back home to my family. Before long, I started working, at McDonald's. I figured like this, $480 is better than no $180. So I started working at McDonald's, and it seemed like I couldn't make a $500 check to save my life. My check was like $497 every 2 weeks, and pretty much that was with all the hours. So the money wasn't that good, but, feeling like you important, serving these customers and, taking your job seriously, following safety protocol, just something to make me feel like I was a part of something. And then at the very end, knowing that I had somewhere to go and lay my head at the end of the night, done a lot for me, because once you get a taste of something like that, you're going to want to have your own stuff. And it just motivated me to regroup, start over, get me an apartment, get me a car, and just go for what I know. I mean, just because I was at that breaking point doesn't mean that I'm going to break. It was hard. I give a lot of credit to my family and friends that was there for me to help me out through all these times when I was out there screwing up. I was a person that was like, hey, if I get caught, I'll do my time and that'll be the end of it. Well, that ain't true, because here it is. I have case, maybe 15, 20 years ago, that still come back to this day to haunt me when it comes down to trying to buy a house, or even coming down to trying to rent a house from somebody. They don't want to rent you no house with your background messed up. I'm sure somewhere maybe my civil rights have been violated, as far as them being able to go back 15, 20 years. But what I found out was that they were looking at my arrest record. So I've been arrested 4 times in my life, and that's what all they see. They're not looking at a criminal background per se. They're just looking at your arrest record. So all the times that you got in trouble is going to be on there. I was under the impression after I'd done my time, I haven't gotten in no trouble 7, 10, 15 years later, that this wouldn't be on there. But what I found out was that it's up to you to go and try to track down these cases and ask for them to be removed. So that way it won't hinder you. But, just at a point now to where I feel like going home was my medicine. Being out there in the city and, not having a leg to stand on, or as some people say, a pot to piss in and a window to throw it out. All my money that I had was going to other people just to live at their house, and things wasn't right. So I came on back home, where I know that people love me at, where I know that people is messy at, where I know that people gonna do what anybody else is doing. The only difference is I was able to come home to a loving family, aunties, uncles, cousins, people that reopened my eyes to the world and was like, hey, what are you doing with yourself? Don't you know you can do this? Don't you know you can go apply for this and apply for that? So as I began to look into it, my own vision of what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be later on in life, which I'm still working on. I'm not sitting here saying that everything turned out hunky-dory, but at my lowest point, the only way to overcome that, go start over. Go back to where love is, even the people that may not get along with. Just try it.
All right. Saying all of that, I would want to ask you, who is someone that you can always count on?
I'm going to go with my dad. From day one, as I was adopted by my dad's grandmother, my dad took off and went to the service at the age of 17. By this point, I was already here. So I wound up long story short, I wound up being adopted by my great-grandmother, which is my dad's grandmother, making that my grandfather's mother. So I was always part of the family. I got to know everybody on my dad's side of the family, bringing me to the point that every single story that I ever heard about what happened between my mom and dad, it was the exact same story. I had time to talk to my dad. He always called. He always sent me stuff, clothes, video games, toys. He just wasn't there physically, but I didn't hate him because he wasn't there. I felt like my dad was doing something important as he was, in the armed forces, in the Navy. I felt like, he out here protecting the world. I looked at my dad as a superhero. I know a lot of people can't say that. And I mean, and I'm not I'm not saying that it's unreal for a person to hate his father because he's not there, but in my situation, I was loved by him. I could count on him. I could tell him anything, any kind of help that I need, he'll give it to me. You know, now the challenge for me is to be able to send him little things now, you know, little gifts, holiday presents, but you know, that's somebody that I can always count on. I always have been. And then on the flip side, when I talked to my mom about the same story, she said exactly the same thing he did. You know, if these stories were years apart, you know, I spaced them apart on purpose to ask each one of them what happened. And they both told me the same thing, and I was okay with that. I never held a grudge against him for nothing. I never held a grudge. More so her than him. I can't say never. But I won't get into all that right now. But, you know, my dad, stand-up guy. To me, I've always said, told my wife, I told my friends, family, my dad's the best guy that I know. So I'm going to go with him on that one.
Okay. When did you first believe in God for yourself? You know, most people, either they're raised in church and they're taught about God, but when was the first time that you realized he existed for you? Like something that gave you a spiritual type connection, or something that happened that you know that was nobody but God. Like that was your moment that you knew that was him.
Only thing that could have saved me one time had to been God. Some people say divine intervention, fate, whatever it may be. So, I'm living in Denver, Colorado. I'm 15 years old. We live on the east side of Denver, close to the 5 Points. Anybody from around there, they probably know that's a bad neighborhood. Gang infested, especially in the early and mid 90s. You know, that's when I was down there. And so I stayed closer toward City Park, closer toward the main, you know, Colorado Boulevard. And I went to school way across town. And so I would have to catch a bus. I'd have to walk a few blocks, catch a bus, and then that bus would take us to school every day. Well, I had done something on the bus and got kicked off the bus. I didn't dare tell my grandfather what happened. So what I did, I started walking down to my girlfriend's house and catching the bus at their bus stop. Bus driver let me get on. We all went to the same school, no big deal. So me and this girlfriend, we going together. We teenagers. I'm 15, she's 14, and she stayed literally right across the street from the Trey Gangsta Crips. It's pretty much the biggest gang on that side of town. I don't know, just but a short briefing on Denver. A lot of the Crips kill each other over there. There's so many sets, there's so many gang members that somebody's always running afoul of each other. And a lot of times they're smoking each other over there, you know. But my girlfriend stayed right across the street from this gang house, you know what I'm saying? I never really just paid attention to it. I just knew who they were. I mean, you know, I ain't never say nothing to them. They didn't say nothing to me. And, you know, I'm going to her house, you know, after school, and then I go home. But anyway, this one particular time, and then let me just go back as far as when I was saying the Crips were killing each other. I haven't been there in a long time. I don't know if they still on that same stuff, but this was in the 90s. This was gang lifestyle at that point. And so, this one particular evening, when I get off the bus, my girlfriend's mother invites me to come back over for dinner. She's making some special dinner. She wants us to come by. I mean, she wants me to come and eat dinner with them. So, you know, of course I'm going. So I go back home. I talk to my grandfather about it. And I'm going to say that I misunderstood what he said. He must have told me to come back before it got dark. But some kind of way I heard 9 o'clock. Or I made up 9 o'clock and just said I ain't gonna come back till 9. I don't know. But at any rate, so we over there, we eat dinner, everything is good. I mind you, it's cold, it's snowing, you know what I'm saying? So it's everything outside is all white. So every day I usually have on my Walkman. I have my CD player, you know, I'm from Texas, so I got on my DJ Screw, I got on my UGK, my ESG, the screwed up clip. You know, this is what's banging in my headphones all the way in Denver, just, you know, just the culture from being in Texas. And this one particular day, though, I didn't have any batteries for it. For some reason, I didn't. I always keep fresh batteries. I love this machine. You know, I walk to school with this on. And this day, I didn't have no batteries, so I left it at home. Something told me just leave that radio, and so I did. So back to the dinner after it was over, I get ready to come home, and we do our little hugs, goodbye, whatever. And she took off running back home because she knew what kind of neighborhood we was in. So, you know, I kept on going. I walked. So as I come up on the next block, there's an 18-wheeler trailer parked on a dead-end block. And as I walked by, I heard this guy say, "What's up, nigga?" So, you know, being from Texas, I really didn't take it aggressively. I just turned around, chunked up the dudes, "What's up? You know, how you doing? What's up?" So when I turned back around, kept on walking. So this time I heard him say it again. He said, "What's up, nigga?" Like real aggressive like. So I turned around, and when I turned around, all I seen was a dude with a black hoodie on, with a ski mask on, and then I seen this big ass gun, like I don't know what kind of gun it was. I know it was big and shiny. And so I took off running. You know, I mean, I immediately just took off running, and I ran down the alley. I used to play sports. I ran track and I played football, so I had a little speed on me. I wasn't nothing but 15, 16. So I took off down that alley, and, you know, all I'm thinking is boys in the hood. All I could hear, "Ricky!" You know, I still don't know if the man shot. I'm pretty sure he could have killed me. You know what I mean? But it had to be in God for me not to have them headphones, something that I did every day. This person probably had been watching me. I had a job. I worked at the airport. So this was the time in the 90s where starter jackets were real popular. So I had like 3 different starter jackets. I had on jewelry. I always dressed nice or whatever. I'm thinking maybe the guy was just trying to rob me, maybe kill me to get some points for his gang. I don't know. I saw the gun, I took off running. I ran home full speed for 10 blocks and didn't even get tired. I got tired when I got to the door and I fell over and just started gasping for air. But all that time I was running, you may call it adrenaline, you might want to call it fear, but there wasn't nothing but God. Oh, and I fell. I fell down one time, tripped on a pothole, and it seemed like I didn't fall. It seemed like I fell, but I jumped right straight back up out of that pothole and kept on running. And I don't know what I did to keep the man from shooting me. So it couldn't have been nothing but God that did that saved my life in a time period where I would just be another statistic. 14, 15-year-old black kid shot East Side, Trey Crips. They don't never know who did it. There would probably be an unsolved murder, like so many others in that neighborhood, especially at that time period. So I give God the credit for that, saying that he saved my life by allowing me to run home and escape a would-be killer for 10 blocks straight without getting tired.
All right. What's your testimony that you would like to share with everybody?
Well, you gotta keep on pushing, man. You know, when you get to the end of your rope, it's tie a knot in it and hold on to something. What I mean by that is, don't give up on yourself. You know, some people are motivated by people saying that they can't do it. You know, some people take a negative and turn a positive into it. But I do understand that everybody is not built the same. I say find what you like to do every day, and then figure out how you can get paid for it. If you're not in a situation to where you can just get paid for doing what you love, go find your job. Go to McDonald's. $480 is better than no $180. I'm going to say your number one thing that you need to advance, at least have a start in society. Get your driver's license, get your ID card, take care of whatever tickets you got, whatever you have to do to be clean, the way you can walk up in the DPS office and come right on up out of there without handcuffs on you. And once you get that ID card, you can get you a job. You can apply for things. You can find a better way to do things. And it may not be what you want to do. Just do what you got to do long enough to get to where you want to be. I know it all sounds real good. It sounds easy, but it's not. It's going to be very hard. It's going to be some time where you want to quit doing it. My testimony would be just keep on pushing, and I'm still not finished. I'm trying to figure out a way to get my record expunged so that I can get this house that I've been wanting, and or at least be able to rent a house and not spend so much money on this apartment. You know, the goal is to own a house, but it's all kind of trials and tribulations gonna come your way. You just gotta keep on pushing. If you give up, that's where you're gonna stay at. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you might be in a situation where you don't know what you're gonna do. You don't know how you're gonna make it, but then you can still look back on that happened last year, that happened a month ago. Because you know why? Because you're still here. So you ain't meant to just fizzle out and die like a match. Once you get a match lit and it gets so lit and then it burns out, you're not meant to do that as a person. And I think a person should be willing, if not just for themselves, their children, somebody that they love, somebody maybe they want to impress them. Me, myself, I'm motivated by people's compliments. Like, I don't know why I'm that way, I'm just that way. If a person tells me that one of my ideas or something that I got going is good and they like it, I'm motivated to make it better, to push even harder. Oh, you think that was something? Well, check this out. You know, I'm kind of motivated by acknowledgement. I don't know if that's good or bad, you know, but sometimes I may have something good going on. If nobody acknowledged it, then it doesn't mean much to me. But it have to mean something to yourself, man. You know, whatever you're trying to do, it have to mean something to you, or you just gonna fizzle and die out like that match. And I mean, I don't think we were meant to do that as human beings. A lot of people hesitate to call on God for things, but some things, you know, mankind is doing a lot of things, but I don't think mankind can do some of those things. So you know that there's a God, whichever kind of God you believe in, or if you believe in more than one God, you still know it's a main one, or it's the most powerful one. So whoever it may be, appeal to it. Appeal to your spirit. Figure out what you need to do. Take a breath. And like I said, if you got to go home and start over, ain't nothing, you know, go do it. There's somebody down at your hometown that'll help you out. Even if you left there because your parents or somebody else was doing you wrong, you got an auntie, a cousin, a school teacher, you know, a church person that you may can reach out to. Go back home, start over, and then go home, get on up out of there again once you get on your feet. Anybody that's trying to help you, figure out what they trying to help you with, figure out what you need, and get it done. Like I said, get that ID card. That's going to be your number one thing. You can't do nothing, especially now, without no ID card or a driver's license. So that'll be a good key for somebody. They got all kind of programs, Texas Workforce Commission, all kind of programs that'll pay for you to get your ID card. They'll even give you gas tokens to go look for jobs. So it's out there. You just got to want to do it. And try not to burn out like that match. If that's what you want, you're just going to die, just like that. Keep on doing the same thing you're doing now. There's got to be an up somewhere. If you're already on the floor, ain't nowhere else but up. So that's my whole deal.
All right. And my next question is, we look at God as the Father. We've all been mad at our fathers at some point in time. We've all been happy with them. We've all had different emotions towards God. but most people don't want to discuss getting mad at God. We all do it. Like I said, we just don't want to admit it. Have you ever got mad at God over something that you felt like you couldn't control?
Yeah, like when I was going through my trials and tribulation, when I was going through it, I was mad. Like, why you doing this to me? Why you allowing this to happen to me? You know, a lot of times people might feel that way or be angry with God behind someone's death. I was upset, but not enough to just denounce God. But I have screamed and yelled at God, like, why? What is you doing? Like, you know, I'm bold enough to question him, what he's doing. I'm pissed off because he didn't do what I thought I deserved, or he let something happen to me that I couldn't control it. So I would ask him often, why? What's going on? What am I doing wrong? Fussing and cussing at God like he did, like he don't know what he doing. And I think that's a big mistake. I think God also understands that people is going to be mad at him. You got all the power. How are people not going to be mad at you? But that's not our call to make. You know, for me growing up in church, one lesson that I always take back is that he might not always come when you want him, but he going to be always on time. And so once you rush it, or once you get mad because you didn't get the $7,500 for that new BMW or the lease BMW, whatever you want to get, and you mad at God now, something might happen where that $7,500 come in handy. You can save your own life, your life of a child, to get you a down payment on a small house or anything. You know, sometimes he do things to you and you're going to get mad, and I think he expects that. But I think you only screwed if you denounce him. You know, but yes, I have. I've been angry, like, what's going on? Why you doing this to me? And I think that's pretty common. I would say it's pretty common.
What memory would you like to leave behind? When people think of you, what is it that you want them to think about?
Man, I mean, I want them to feel happy when they think about me. I want them to let it be known that I had a little sense. I want it to be known that what I showed everybody wasn't always me. You know, I wanted people to have fun around me at all times. You know, so I indulged in the drinking and smoking. I indulged in the jokes and having all the friends over and everything. But, you know, that came at a price too. But I would just like, even those people probably that didn't like me or don't like me, I bet you they can tell you at least one or two fun times that we had. You know, so I would just like to leave a legacy of maybe some of my inventions, maybe someone take the blueprints from my inventions and bring them into fruition, or, you know what I'm saying, adjust them or you know, make them better, you know. I don't have any kids, so if I had a son, maybe that's what I would like to leave behind, you know. Basically just my legacy would be my bloodline. So for me, that's kind of important right now. And you know, we're thinking of ways, figuring out how we can, you know, have a baby. So that's why it's so important for me to be adamant about trying to build a foundation, you know, trying to get my credit report right, trying to get this record expunged so that, you know, more doors in life can open up for me, so that when I'm able to have a child, I can take care of them. It won't need for nothing, you know, and we'll have at least a pretty good grip on what we're trying to do. Hopefully try to give them a head start in life. So I would say to leave behind a legacy would be an offspring. But you know, if it's not in God's plan, I have a host of other nephews and grandkids, and I know that sounds funny to say grandkids, since my wife has grandkids, so to me they my grandkids. So if there's not a bloodline DNA, there's still a host of other young black men that I can help become, grown men in life. A host of other little black boys that I can help mold into black men and teach them for some of my mistakes. So that's a legacy within itself, to leave behind the knowledge of what I've figured out here during my time on Earth. So that.
Okay, and last question. You mentioned that you were adopted. What would you say to other adoptees about getting over the fact that they weren't with their parents? What good information would you give them to kind of get over that, especially if they went to a better place?
I'm going to say this. They are never going to get over it. But a way you can help yourself, a person that's been adopted, unless their parents are dead, sometimes they may not find that out until later, but they're never going to be satisfied. To me, that's an itch that's always going to need scratching until you find your real parents. My advice would be, go find them, but make sure that you are prepared for what you might find. Also be prepared to not understand why things were done the way that they were done. Prepare yourself for the knowledge that you may gain that they may not be so good. Maybe the people you with now may not be so good, but it turned out being the best thing for you. So, as far as an adoptee, go find them. Make sure you're mentally prepared for it. A lot of times parents are scared. A lot of times the parents are afraid of you because they already account on you for being upset with them, for not being in their lives. So they're afraid of you. A stand-up person would most likely come and find you themselves. Me, I had to go find one of my parents. I had to go find my mother. Let her know that, hey, I'm out here. I'm good. I met her for the very first time when I was 13 years old. I hadn't seen her face. I would always pray to God every night before I went to sleep, every single night, to let me see my mama and get to know her one day. And to this day, we are cool. We got a great relationship. I love her very much. And I got to hear her side of the story. And it was basically identical to my dad's side of the story. So I didn't hold no grudge. But until that
I
point,
found a way to do that thing where it'll record the screens since he didn't go on camera, and I can put it on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
But she didn't owe me nothing because she could have aborted. She didn't owe me nothing. She was under the impression that I was in a good place. But my thing was, why didn't you at least reach out and come try to check on me? So that bothered me up until the point where I tracked her butt down. At 13 years old, I tracked her down. And ever since then, we've been building a relationship. So I got to meet a lot of people on her side. My little brothers and sisters, they come around now. We have relationships. I go see them. We do stuff together. My brother bring his son over here. So as a piece of advice, if you're adopted, I know it's going to bother you until you find them. My advice is go ahead and find them, but make sure you're mentally prepared for what you might find. And don't ever give up. If these people have been elusive for so long, it might be by design, or it just might be they don't know you. Some people don't know they have children out there. And one side of the story may be different from the other side. So be open-minded. Go find your people. That's all I can say. Just be ready. Cool.